I had the buffer in my AR-15 stick on the detent at the range during my live stream. This is my Colt match target model. I've always found it funny that they label them 223 on the lowers. The barrels always say 5.56. But what happens is this has a composite buffer, and there's a small dimple molded into the plastic. It's dark there. See if we can get in there with a flashlight and see it. But the detent can become nestled inside that dimple in the bottom of the front of the buffer there, and the buffer gets hung up, and there isn't much you can do about it unless you have a tool. It's pretty simple once you get someplace where you have a probe or something. One of these dental picks or something can fit in there. That one's not quite. This one's got a little bit more of a reach to it. We can get in there and try to push that detent down. There. It's that simple. Now that it's out, of course the hammer's in the way now. Let's put the hammer down. There. Now you can see what happens is it's got this hole right here that is part of the molding of the buffer. And there's one here and one here, and it looks like there might even be some sort of a mechanical fastener in there. Or maybe that's just the metal inside that weights the buffer tube. I don't know. But if this side of the buffer is down, that pin will get stuck in there almost every time. So what I need to do is I need to make a mental note to myself to make sure that that hole is towards the top side when I put it in, because if I put it in this way it won't snag. You put it in this way and it's almost a surefire thing that it'll snag. So say I need to make a habit of dimple up when I reinstall it. There. Now everything's taken care of and it's no longer stuck. We also, during the live stream, talked a bit about the trigger in this rifle. I don't know what it is. If you look inside here, a little light, you can see that in the safety selector there is a set screw that goes down and adjusts the sear engagement on the rear of the trigger itself. And you can see that there's another set screw that does not have a head on it that stands a little proud there. And what happens is when the rifle is in safe, let me put it in safe here, see if I can do this at the same time, give you light and there. So now when you rotate the safety selector, it goes down and it engages the back of the disconnector. And I think that that's to ensure that the disconnector stays down and back when the hammer's in that position. So you rotate it up, that screws back up, and I don't know how well I can see. This is difficult with the camera, but and you can see the trigger bar itself down at the bottom has been relieved to clear and go back under the safety selector and pick up that set screw on the far side, but it's clearanced away on the side that's closest to the lever on the safety selector. But yeah, I don't know what brand trigger this is. You can see on this side it is stamped. Let me let it up and we'll see a little better. On this side there is a letter M. I don't know if the light's good or bad there. Try it both ways. There's a letter M stamped in there. So I don't know what model it is. The trigger does feel good, but I have no idea what manufacturer it is. And I did notice, you know, if you look at the way the springs are in it right now, I haven't ever taken the trigger group out of this rifle. I just kind of cleaned around it. I haven't shot it that much. It's got a couple hundred rounds through it, but you can see that one leg of the hammer spring is under the trigger pin and one is over. I typically assemble them with the springs on top. I think different people do it different ways. But anyway, that's a look at the trigger in there. You see that set screw that goes down and catches on that 45-degree bevel on the disconnector. And you can see it's pretty polished up on the sear faces. Eventually I'll probably slip this out of here and take a closer look at it, but it runs fine. I like the way it feels, but we talked about it a little bit in the stream, so I thought I'd give everyone a look. But we've got the buffer taken care of. Put the rifle back together and it'll be ready to go again. stop recording.